Welcome to Calling Cousins. It's Cousin Ash here, dialing in from sunny Arizona. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Cousin Shaw here, hopping on from colorful Colorado. So here's the deal. We were talking about everything from conspiracy theories to weird internet trends and thought, why not go down the rabbit hole together?
Honestly, we had no plan, just vibes, snacks, and a bunch of internet tabs open. So let's see where this goes. Right, the topic we have for today is music and more with my baby brother, Devin.
Oh, the baby.
I try.
My not so baby brother.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you for
welcome
having me.
on.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I've been very excited for this. I am this is my first podcast I've ever done.
Ooh,
Right.
and he's been
hmm
invited to several, so just saying we're the first. Pretty proud moment.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
and
and the pod
bef before we get too far, no, this is not Ed Sheeran.
He just looks
I
like
love
him
that.
and is
Yeah,
also
yeah.
a musician.
I try. I try. I think yeah, the Ed Sheeran thing, it comes in waves, at the place that I work currently. That was the first thing that happened in our virtual meeting. And so, the first time you meet people, it's intense, but like virtual rooms, there's like 30 people. And so I was super stressed out that day. And then people were like typing in the chat, and it was a new chat type. So I'm getting all these Ed Sheeran jokes, and then I'm just like, ha, and like I froze. I had a little panic attack in the middle of my first Zoom meeting. But anyway, I won't have that happen today. We're fine. But the first day, yeah, it was bad news bears, and it was all because people were calling me Ed Shay Shay, and it is what it
Did
is. I
they
feel like go ahead.
did they actually think you were Ed Sheeran? Were they like, is this a prank? Is Ed Sheeran really on here?
No, they were just, belittling me in the nicest way possible. Like, that's what's
Oh,
crazy about me is that, like, because you look similar to a celebrity, people will come up and be like, like, they don't even know me at all, but they like automatically jump over this barrier of like, well, I know that you look somewhat
Comfortable.
similar to a
Exactly.
person, so I guess I just, and it's the same thing about just ginger um, you
Your
know,
culture.
it is, dude. It's the one phrase or like the one word that people can still use against somebody and like it be okay in public. You know what I mean? Like it hasn't gotten to that other side yet where people are like you could come up and be like you stupid ginger. And it's not nice, but like it's still okay. You can kind of do it, you know what I mean? It's
well,
That's
weird to
funny.
me.
that's probably going to go away soon, honestly, because people are
hmm
starting to get offended by it. And like, have you heard about the Disney thing
No,
Which Disney
probably
thing?
not.
There's like 40
about
of them right now.
gingers?
Tell me.
Which one?
Apparently African American people are acting now as all the gingers. So like Little Mermaid, and then hold on.
Oh,
There's a whole list. There's like a whole thing. I didn't notice it, okay? Somebody pointed it out to me.
Is this why gingers have been invited to the cookout recently? Have you heard about this thing? It's not just me. I like all of a sudden I had a bunch of my black friends and they were messaging me on the side and they were like, "Hey Devin, did you hear?" And I'm like, "What?" And they were like, "You're invited over, cuz." And I'm like, "No, shut up." They
cuz.
even said that.
Yes, that's
They
exactly
said
it
that. Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah. It's so good. I'll have to send you some videos off camera, but it's great. Like it's basically just like this one dude would put up famous redheaded people and he's like my sister in Christ, Jennifer Lohan. She's bringing it way back. It's just so funny because it is one of the only groups of people that can kind of like be, in my opinion, subjugated to the side still. When you look back at like Irish culture, Irish starting in America a long time ago were very frowned upon and not able to be allowed into multiple public spaces and whatnot. So, it's part of history.
That's crazy. I would
hmm
say I feel like I would never walk up to a redhead and be like, "What up, Ginger?" Like maybe if I was, I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I'm like, I would feel comfortable doing it because
You are one.
I don't know, in some lighting, I guess, but not like I don't
Well,
know,
I
but I
look
mean
it, but
like
I'm not. I'm definitely. It's
Yeah, yeah.
I'm blonde.
All right, so we wanted to do this podcast to talk about music. So,
Hmm.
what?
Yes, because even though he's not Ed Sheeran, he's he's still following in his steps, we'll say. No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he sings at like every major family event. Like, how many weddings have you sang at for our family?
Um, only
Three?
two.
Only
Only
two?
two. Yeah,
I
only
was like,
two.
Three.
Yours and another person that I know.
well, if I ever get to get married, I already have you wrote it down for my little just for
Right.
just for while I walk down the aisle though. I just want the acoustic guitar. You don't even have to
Deal.
sing,
Oh, dude, I'm about
but
that. I got you.
yeah,
That's like
yeah.
my favorite thing. No
And I
singing,
honestly,
just
yeah,
guitar, all
yeah,
day, all day. I could do that.
and
No
I don't
problem.
even, I pretty much don't even care what you play. It's just whatever.
You
He's
should
like,
not tell me that at all. Yeah.
Why? No, you would be
All,
nice.
all of a sudden, I just start playing WAP.
oh God, no.
I would still be like,
Sorry.
it's so beautiful.
I like big butts.
Um,
You'd be like, yeah.
Oh,
Welcome
I know
yeah,
that
dude.
one.
Yeah.
Oh my
Maybe
So
goodness.
when I'm walking away because everybody will be looking at my butt, right? Or
there
when
you
I'm
go.
walking away.
Yeah, yeah. If you like it, then I should have put a ring on it or something. Something that doesn't
There
make
you
sense
Yeah,
for
single
go.
you to have
ladies.
a ring on it. Yeah,
Single
yeah.
ladies. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I will say it is kind of cool. I get earlier this year I had like a really big sense of gratitude for being requested by so many people to like play and perform in public settings because it's something that I realize not everybody gets to do, number one, but not everybody is even asked that, like
Yeah.
it's this extra thing and it feels like um I think I've had kind of a reoccurring theme in general in my life this year. I talked to my mother about this over dinner the last time, but a big kind of like lesson, I guess, this year that I've had, which is kind of tying into what I'm talking about, is the service of others brings joy and happiness to yourself. So, in a lot of religious aspects, humans tie this together in a uh, common term. So, like giving back to homeless or the needy or going to do a service, it in turn fuels the soul or fuels whatever your life force is. And ever since I've started my most recent employment, I felt more and more in tune with that aspect of things, and what that does for a person is really um it brings a higher sense of like, I guess purpose is a right word, but it feels cheesy, but I guess purpose is the right way to put it. And it also eliminates all of the wrongs that I've done in the past too, which I think is super great because as you both know, I've spent time as I'm an ex addict, I'm an ex alcoholic, and I'm totally open about that. Being as part of past. But when I was that person, there was so many like life moments and triggers and decisions that I made that I wasn't necessarily proud of because I was in a different headspace. But what's cool is with this new career path, I've put myself into a situation where now like those decisions, those feelings, those emotions that just felt like a constant whirlwind, like even with therapy they just never went away, I could actually eliminate them because I have service to others. So tying that back to music, I think that's one thing that I'm really, really fond of is when people bring and ask that of me, because not only is it something that I enjoy, but it can actually bring value, to an experience or what have you. And like, I guess I had kind of a realization that that's not something that most people have, in their day-to-day life. And so if you have whatever, a skill, or a skill like an example, a lot of our family members are either handymen or in some way shape or form in the past have like done that kind of thing, like repairing carpets or doing floors or what have you. That's got to be such a good sense of completion. Once a job like that is done, you feel like you've made an impact, and it's like there are these chapters that you have along the way by doing these little tasks that, overall, it's a little run on, but that's just one thing I've been like dialing in, and it all kind of dials back to music for me. That's my
Nope.
cornerstone.
Yeah,
I
but
feel
that's
like that's,
cool.
sorry, go ahead.
No, okay. I was gonna say it's cool because when you mentioned like, yeah, you get enjoyment out of it, but we also do too, like with your music specifically. But,
Right.
when you can take that, bad situation and you're like, you know what, now I'm gonna put that energy into this new situation, into this positive, to where you benefited somebody instead of, you know, the negative side. I think it's a cool way to look at it. And I do feel like a lot of people, can take their talents, and if they can put it towards someone else, it's more like they can be more grateful for it too, because it didn't just, you know, go to some Joe Blow that they had to do because they had to do it for their job, but they actually got
Right.
to give it to someone, and then it meant more because they did a good job, they took more care for it or what have you. Um and so it I love it. You obviously explained it way better than I did, but
No, but it's more fruitful. It's more fruitful. It has more value to it because it comes from a nice place too. And Ash, I know that you were gonna say something.
No, you're good. I just feel like that's like a huge part of growth, like as a
Hmm.
human. Like I know so many people that have gone through that, and whether it's like on the religious side of things with volunteering through a church and that kind of stuff, or
hmm
like I know you didn't go through AA, but that's one of the big like starting points with AA is kind of, well, first you start with yourself and then you kind of start with making amends and that kind of stuff. And I know you're not doing amends directly, but it's
Hmm.
kind of the same thing because you're like, if you believe in karma, you're kind of balancing the scales on like, okay, I did this bad thing to this person, but then today I did this amazing thing to this other person, and I feel like really good about it.
Yeah.
but it's also like you said, it's also the natural balance, like when my son does something bad, like the weekend of his birthday, he was having accidents. And so I was like, cool, we're not celebrating your birthday now, right? So like we just cut it. But then I explained to him, I'm like, if you can do something to correct that negative behavior without me telling you, without me asking you to do it, like you can just come up with your own, heart, then I might change my mind. And he did chores, he did dishes and clean the toilet, but um I mean, he corrected it. He took, we had a bad situation and he switched it around. So that's exactly what you're doing, Devin. And you're looking at it as a broader scale of like your whole life. And like, I mean, I try to think like of regrets and that kind of stuff from my past. But I've never thought about like when I think of a bad situation that I caused in my past, it just eats at me, right? I've never thought to turn that into a positive. Okay, like let me do this now. Like let that go. You're forgiving yourself, you're forgetting it, maybe not forgiving, but you're forgetting it, you're changing your outlook, and now I'm doing this. And so it's just
Yeah.
I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, well, and I've been, and thank you, by the way. That was a very nice compliment. I've been, I'm a big, podcast watcher myself, and there's one that I'd like to share with you as well. Um, but there was this gentleman, and he was talking about the idea and concept of rumination, and rumination has a really heavy tie back to depression because they say that a human who thinks too far into the past is an or into the future is an anxious being, whereas a human who thinks too far into the past is depressed, whereas someone who is present finds peace because there's no longer rumination. And um, rumination is predominantly a past concept. And what's crazy about rumination is that it's actually, believe it or not, it's really comfortable to us because it doesn't take a lot of effort to ruminate. If you really think about it, we have these concepts that, like, I can think of 10 right now because it's so easy to think about a time that you were distracted, embarrassed, did something in front of a crowd in some way, shape, or form, and it's really, like, for whatever reason, it's easy for our brain to just run in circles and cycles around that thought of like, man, I had the best comeback to say during that thing, or what
Right.
have you. And I think what the challenge is, what I've been challenging myself on, is to, when I start running in that circle, to think about, like, one, why am I running in circles on this? Obviously, it's because I had an embarrassment factor. But two, I have tried to train myself on when you're in this circle, when you're in that realm, really get out of it and like be aware of the fact that you're ruminating. Because when you're ruminating, you're spending time elsewhere and not present. And that's
And
just a
energy.
yeah. And it's continuous forever. It's like that.
I used
Well,
to
there's
think that that if I like so like speaking of like amends, I used to be like,
Hmm.
okay, maybe if I tell that person that like I'm sorry for this thing that happened that I was embarrassed of. So it happened one time with my aunt on my dad's side and I was dancing like inappropriately with my husband at a family reunion. Okay, like he was behind me and we weren't even really being inappropriate, but she called me out. She's like, "We're around all this family." And I was like, and I was so like mortified. I
mortified.
was like, "Oh my gosh, there are kids around." Like, and it's not like I was twerking, okay? Like we were just I don't know, just dancing. And so, anyways, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell her that I'm so sorry. Like, I can never stop thinking about this. Like, it's always in my brain, and I just want to tell her." And she just like laughed at me, and she was like, "Girl, I never even thought twice about it. Like, and I kind of wanted to be like, you embarrassed me too. Like that, you didn't have to yell at me in front of everybody. Like that was really embarrassing for me." And she just like laughed and walked away, and I was like, "Well, I'm never doing that again because that just brought it up, and now I'm embarrassed about this conversation." So now. So I love that you said that. Like it's your own spiral. So just
Yeah.
like you have to figure out how to get out of it because even if you do amends or whatever with other people, you're either just gonna bring it up and become more embarrassed or like they're not gonna have any idea what you're talking about because it's so internal that
Yes, exactly.
it's just a crazy spiral. So I totally agree with it's on you to get out of that
Yeah,
And
mindset.
you're
with
the only one. You're the only one thinking about that time. No one else is
Yep.
thinking about that but you. Even your husband's probably not
exactly.
thinking about that and he was involved in it. But for whatever reason it's detrimental to us and it's wild. Humans are complicated creatures in that way. We're just not wired to be continuously joyful. We were wired to be
I
able
know.
to evolve. You know what I mean? We were wired to be able to uh, you know, reciprocate and duplicate human nature. That's what evolution
Hmm.
gave us, and we're very good at that. But what we're not good at is finding out why I'm upset today. You know what I mean? Like we
We're
can,
not, yeah, exactly.
yeah, we weren't wired. We weren't given that part. So it's like, survival used to be such a different way of things. We'd have to, so much of our time would be taken up on the things that we have so luxurious now that
Hunting.
we've created. Yeah, well, we've created problems for ourselves because we just ran out of them. Honestly,
Yeah.
Oh
what
yeah.
real problems was, having to
Survival.
try to find 3 meals a day. That wasn't happening. You'd be lucky if you ate one a day for so much time,
Yeah, now we're
and
like, oh, we have to eat 6 a day to be healthy.
yeah,
And then
snacks,
I just got over
protein
here
only. Yeah.
playing Minecraft. Like, let's go back in time and start from scratch.
Yeah, I've got to make games to bring
Yeah.
reality.
I mean, seriously though, it's
Uh,
crazy.
it's funny because yeah, because back in the day you'd have to like build your house. Okay, well that storm took that house. Now I got to go build another house, and then out of heavy stone and little branches that blow away in my farts, and
And people
you
didn't
know,
make it. And people didn't
right,
make it. There were so many
right,
families
right.
that didn't like, some people didn't rise to the challenge, which the
The
challenge then
simple.
was so much higher than what a challenge is
Mhm.
now. Getting a job now, yeah, it may be difficult on Indeed, but homie, once it's like you got one. It's like,
But
life might
you,
not be
but you're, yeah,
luxurious, but you know what
yeah,
I mean? But you got it, and it's
yeah.
just crazy, crazy.
But
It
that,
is.
yeah, back to the spiraling and like, there's that famous phrase of you are your own worst critic.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, when you spiral and that kind of stuff, there's so many different things that I feel like I was just having this conversation with my brother because he suffers from anxiety, and I was trying to explain to him that like you gotta take control over that and not let yourself stay in that moment. And when you feel that anxiety, you have to find some way, if it's a mantra, taking deep breath and that kind of stuff. Like you have to find something that works for you to help you out of it. And he just kept arguing with me, and he's like, no, that doesn't work, and that doesn't work, and that doesn't work. And I'm like, cool. So you saying those things and you believing those things, you'll never find a way out of it. And he is, it's like it's very similar, you're very centralized and you're keeping yourself in that hole. And I was just trying, I'm like, I'm not saying that just because breathing works for me, it will work for you. But it's like you got to somewhat take control over it. And Devin, you've always amazed me on how like the struggles I've seen you go through are tremendous versus comparative to my life. And you're my much younger cousin, but I do look up to you on some form because I've seen you come through by yourself, not always with help, sometimes with but um, just the things you've overcome and how you want to you're constantly challenging yourself and growing yourself. And it's really cool to watch, and I learn a lot.
I really appreciate that. I think that I had good people in my life that I wanted to aspire to be, or at least I had others in my life that I was challenged to try to rise to their level of greatness. I had good people in my life, and I think that's what it kind of boils down to is I just had some good mentors. But I mean, even with the best mentors, people can still not make the right decisions, not want to better themselves. And I think we were just talking about that self-talk feature, like your brother, my other cousin, obviously. The self-talk thing is really interesting to me. It was pointed out to me actually through music, because that's kind of a big topic. In one of the master classes, which is kind of like an online course or a college course that you can take, it is one of my favorite artists. I was living with my mom back in 2020, and in one of the sessions, because it's like basically seminars, he said, put yourself into a position where if you were painting a picture, how would your best friend talk to you about your picture? Would your best friend come up to you as you're making it and say, I don't really know, that wasn't necessarily the best decision, or why, I don't know, maybe you should just give up, this isn't the right
Oh,
thing, like, but for whatever reason, we as humans are very, well, not only are we self-critical, we are belligerently rude to ourselves, because those are some of the thoughts that we have, not even just in creation, but about like that rumination about any little decision. When I'm making a meal, I could scoop my hand the wrong way around a bowl, and then I could think, oh man, I did that wrong.
oh,
What am I
I
thinking? You know what I mean?
yes.
Like, and it's that self-talk. You really have to retrain and catch yourself in those moments. My mom is really good about that, actually, and she's taught me a couple exercises where when you have a bad thought or a negative one, as opposed to trying to feel down about the fact that you just had a negative thought, you say, okay, thank you for that, brain. Thank you, self. I appreciate that. And then just move on from it, because you can't really control the thought as it comes in, but you can
Hmm.
control what happens to it. And if you don't give it power, then you no longer have that negative self talk. And I've gotten a lot better about it, but it's a muscle, it's something you have to
Oh my
grow
gosh.
every day, and it's
It
it's it's
takes,
tough.
yeah, and it takes a long, long time. And I think that's where he was kind of getting held up too, is he was like,
Hmm.
and he's in a dark place right now. And
Hmm.
so, I was explaining, I'm like, when you're in that dark place, you can't, nothing's gonna work. So,
Yeah.
we gotta get you through that hump, and then you can, he'll be able to hear advice and that kind of stuff. It's just it is hard, and it's like it takes a long time. And like,
Yes.
I mean, I know that we're all considered young, like the three of us, but I feel so much older than like people in their 20s because, and even though it's less than 10 years ago that I was in my 20s, I feel, I'm like, wow, like I can actually listen to my parents and like understand what the things that they said. I can actually appreciate the things that they said instead of rolling my eyes. Now, not everything because I still think my parents are crazy pants, um, but like I can't, like there's like there's this one thing that I keep saying is my mom used to say, she always wishes she was a fly on the wall when I was a kid. And I'm like, oh, you're so creepy. But guess what? My ass wants to be a fly on the wall in my son's classroom and, when he's hanging out with friends or whatever. And I'm like, I would love, like, I'm that weirdo that just stares and gazes at him, just watching him in his element. So it's like I can relate much more to my parents now in my 30s than I did like in my 20s. And I feel like I've matured a lot in this decade of my life.
Hmm.
I actually just watched a movie and they said a quote that felt it like hit home for me hard. And it was like in the 20s, we're just so excited to be adults that we're just like throwing it all away, right? Like we have our own freedom, whatever, and all this stuff. And then it's like in the 30s, we're so busy trying to figure out who we are, like as people, then by the time we figure it out, we're in our 40s, and then we can't do half the stuff we wanted to do with our lives. And I'm like, oh. So like right now we're in the figure it out stage of
I
like who
just don't
we
have
want to be.
time to figure it out. I'm just rolling with the punches. But I do
Yeah.
feel like even when I was in my younger 30s, like so a couple years back, I was there. Excuse me. I think it was like 32 or something like that, and I was working with like 26 and 28-year olds, and I could just feel the difference maturity wise, like the things that they were into versus what I was trying to get out of. And I was like, what the heck, man? Like we're 4 years different. Like I think me and you, Devin, are 4 years, right? What are you,
Yeah,
93,
I think so.
90,
94.
94? So
End
yeah,
of,
I'm 90.
end of, yeah.
Yeah, and I am the end of two. So yeah, we're exactly 4 years. And it was just like so different. Granted, they were girls, so different maturity levels than men, but um it was so hard. I was like, wow, like I feel like I'm your mother right now on how you're taking the situation versus how I am. And it was crazy. Like I made a huge jump into my 30s. And I don't know if it was because I had my son around that time because I had him when I was 27, 28. But I think it was just hitting the 30 mark. And I really like it. Like I like having this head on my shoulders and I can actually see the bigger picture. Granted, that also involves more stress too, because I pay attention more to politics and stuff now. So that stresses me out. But
I agree with that. And then it's also difficult because you see the younger generation, like your little brother, the one who you're talking
Mhm.
about. I like see him going through that anxiety and I just want to be like, figure it out. Like like do the tapping, do something, like go to therapy. I
Yes,
don't, and I know he's doing all of those
try
things,
different
but it's
things.
just
Yeah.
like, but like you're just like, oh dude. But then I think about myself as a as a teenager and I'm like, bro, I
He's he's not a teenager, by the
well,
way.
yeah, as a teenager. Just don't talk about it. He's like what, 20?
He's 20, yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
barely.
totally.
Hey,
But
he is a complete human being according to grandpa,
yes,
okay?
yes, that's true. But I thought that was
Um,
like whatever.
but yeah, and like I know we're super scrolling away from music, but like the other thing I wanted to add is like so my son has a lot of challenges, and I say challenges as like minor things, right? Like when he played sports, he didn't understand the concept of chasing the soccer ball. He would just watch other kids chase the soccer ball and get excited and then run next to them. Like he never went, and then the ball would come to him and he would just stare at the ball. So it's like tiny little challenges like that. Or and like most of my examples are going to be in sports, okay? But like in swim or whatever, he would kick and he's kicking, but the fool's not moving. Like there's like no, and it was just hard. Like it was hard for me to watch because I was like, I don't know how to help you through this or whatever. And then in the past couple months or whatever, all of a sudden he's going after the ball. He's moving through the water. And it's like once those things happened, my life like weight just came off. And I was just like, whoa, like he's cool. He's gonna be okay. He got through this. And so it's like I really want my little brother to get to that point. I want him to find one thing that works for him. One thing that makes him feel like he has control over all of this horrible things to be anxious about. Like there's so many things you can be anxious about, and it's if he can find the one thing that he chooses not to be anxious over and notices that in himself, like oh, like that is just such a great feeling, and like I can't wait for him to get to that point.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I think
Yeah, I
I
hope it
think
comes soon.
some some people are late bloomers too, you know.
Which, yeah,
Um and that happens. And I think, for those that don't know, I work in a mental health industry now, working for residential stay for humans who have any kind of thought and mood-based symptom, including things like autism, ADHD, neurodivergency, OCD. So what I've been noticing is a huge, huge, huge trend of younger gentlemen, particularly from 18 to like 25. And they really, really, they don't have anything wrong. They're not out smoking weed. They're not out getting drunk. I was a party animal, right? Like it was very clear what my issue was.
The
But
big
what's
issue was, yeah,
yeah, the big issue, it's like this okay, obviously, like if you stop this, dude, everything else falls into
something will,
place,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
But with a lot of these younger gentlemen, I'm not necessarily talking down. I'm just really glad that I missed this. I'm really glad that I played outside a lot as a kid, that I had like aspirations to be bigger than just like sitting inside playing video games. Like, yeah, I like video games, but what I'm seeing more often is men who just do not leave their house. They don't leave
That's
their
exactly
house.
him. Hmm.
Yeah, they just play video games only. And again, I'm a big believer that video games actually can cause and really help with problem solving skills. Video games nowadays are different than they were in the 80s. Very, very
Sure,
different animal. It's a whole different thing. But with that being said, too much of a good thing, too much of anything is problematic. Too much of water will drown you, but we need it
for
to
sure.
survive, right? So it's
Yep.
like there's a balance with everything. And so I was talking to the mother of one of my patients, and she was just saying, like, I just don't understand, like, what I can do. And I was like, at the end of the day, really, there's not much you can do. You're already doing the process of getting him set
Hmm.
up for some care in a center. That's great, and I'm really, really proud of you. At some day, you're gonna have to let him go. You're gonna have to kick him out because
And
that's
you're gonna want
to be
him
able
to
to
get to
handle
that
it.
point. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. And so I'm just seeing a lot more of that kind of thing happening. And then there's resistance to treatment. But then I get on the phone, and with me being with me, I start talking about video games and I get them involved, you know what I mean? And I get them to get on board. And it's again, that's another thing of being able to help. But to this point, it's kind of an epidemic. There are sorry, I know this isn't music at all, but there's another topic that's somewhat related to that thing where now also that same age group of men, I call them boys, but those younger men don't know how to talk, not only just to people, but what's really problematic is they don't know how to talk to women either, because they're spending so much time in their room and in their own solidarity talking to their few friends that they have on stream,
Hmm.
that the social interaction is getting so bad that what really kind of breaks my heart in a lot of ways is that if you can't really go out and talk to a woman, it means that there's not a lot of dates. That's a whole huge part of like what makes us human. What we really connect about is being able to like have that
The
aspect, at
opposites.
least,
Yep. Hmm.
yeah, at least some kind of intimacy. And it's really unfortunate that there are so many men that are kind of like falling to that. And what's even worse is if that's on the rise, there's less and less birth rates.
Babies.
There's a lot, you
Uh-huh.
know what I mean? And so there's a lot more problems that go into it.
But
And
that could actually be a blessing in disguise
it could
I
be,
I
yeah,
always I
because
always
it
think
ebbs
that
and
too. Like
flows.
yeah, like we have a lot of people and we need it to slow down. Which
yeah,
yeah, but we don't want it to be like to where they can't even, because yeah, like my little brother, very much exactly as you described. He doesn't work, he doesn't have friends. My dad pays for everything. He's never had a job. He is starting college in the next couple weeks, which is like I'm so excited. Um, and it'll get him out of the house and that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, he is literally his entire life is he wakes up and he's on the computer. Granted, I'm on the computer too. It's what I do for a living, but like I'm
different,
converse
totally different.
I still go out and live life or whatever. It's very hard for him to live life, and when he does, he gets overwhelmed and anxious. And my little sister, who's only a couple years younger than him, has straight up admitted that she has a hard time having a conversation with somebody in person. She is instantly comfortable on the screen, chatting, and I don't even know if webcam is comfortable or not webcam, but she says that in person, it's very hard for her. And it's so sad because like I mean, I don't even, so they're 14 and 16 years younger than me, but I don't remember their whole childhood being, controlled with screens, like I try to limit my son, but I know he's addicted. He even has this weird addiction of he would rather watch something on a tiny phone than on a regular TV. Like he gets mad if I'm like, "Hey, let's watch a movie together," and he's like, "No, I want screen time," and I'm like, "What the?" Then like I like yes, he's on it right now because I'm podcasting, but I only do it when I'm in meetings or in the shower. Outside of that, he doesn't have it, and it still causes an addiction. And it's like if he gets into video games, and like, granted, yeah, I've been showing him N64 and stuff, but that's pretty much the only, I don't want him to do the online games. And we were visiting my friend in Missouri, and they had what are those?
Reality.
Yeah, the VR. Yeah, and I let him try it on because I'm like, well, he don't, we're on vacation, why not? Like he straight up was on there and he somehow got on a game, and it was a very innocent game, mind you. He was just walking around. It was like a pretend McDonald's, and he would like make a burger and serve it to someone. But they were like live people on there too, and you could hear him talking. Like they didn't have the hookup for the audio, but you could hear him. And like the only way I let him play it is that I could watch what he was doing. So I hooked it up to the TV so I could see what he was doing while he had the things on, so I could see, whatever. But all the voices on there were tiny kids. They weren't like men, which I don't know if that made me feel worse or better, but I'm like, the fact that it was all kids and that was their life. Like that stupid movie, I love it. But that stupid movie Ready Player One like freaks me out because that is such a reality. And it's going to cause more and more of this. I don't know what you called it, Devin, but all the issues that you've been seeing, it's just
Yeah.
that's the future, and that's what the kids, and I'd be curious. I know you were mentioning you're dealing with a lot more men. I'd be curious if women are experiencing the same things.
And
They can't.
we're higher on female identifying. It's actually surprisingly in mental health, there is always more women admitted. Always.
Really.
It's a good thing though, because women are socially aware and emotionally have a higher emotional intelligence integrity in general to know that when a problem is happening, they plan to approach it. Men in society unfortunately get told to push it down, don't confront
Yep.
those feelings, don't be a B word, just
Deal
suck
with
it
it.
up, get out
Yeah.
there, handle it. It's also why, unfortunately, men have a suicide rate, I think, 4 times higher than women. Um,
Wow.
also, also, men under 40 years old, suicide is the number 2 killer beneath heart
Number
disease.
two.
I think so.
Really.
You'd have to check, but like I'm pretty sure, especially working in the field that I do, I hear these numbers fly around quite frequently, and it's insane to me. And I mean, thinking back on it, I mean, I personally know 5 men who have committed suicide personally, just me
Wow. Yeah.
alone. So when you think about that concept, it's like, yeah, there's the numbers right there. You know what I mean? And it's just it's insane. And hopefully there's a better conversation that happens, especially in the younger age. And I think it is actually coming around more. It seems that the Gen Z age, even though they lack social interaction, one thing they do have is a lot more open-mindedness to be able to be like an individualized person. So what I've noticed in my sister's generation is that they're very, very sold onto the idea of like what's the word of like a palette, like they're palette people. They want to have
Okay.
everything be their specific thing. So like I have this grouping of stickers that is like just for me, and like I listen to this very niche aisle that's just for me of music. And why I bring that up is because they also have resources that we did not have. Think about the concept of like Chat GPT. If a kid is truly feeling sad, they actually realistically have an automated therapy session that they have access to. Now, on the flip side, it can go negative, can go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if they actually have thoughts of harming themselves or taking their life in any way, and if they have just that one idea of like, well, maybe I should go to Chat GPT, which they go to for everything, then automatically they have the suicide awareness hotline that's linked to them. That wasn't a thing before. You had to, as a man, you had to really think about, okay, well, I have to get up and get out of my room. Let's say before tech, like phones were the way they
Mm-hmm.
are now, a man had to get up or a woman, whoever, had to get up and go out and then go try to find somebody to talk to. And then there's a lot of downtime between that and then going to get like a therapy session or going to get help. Whereas this is like an automated, you have access. I get called from people who are 17, 16 years old talking about how their parents are terrible and they want to end their life. And luckily they have access to where now they can talk to me on the phone and then I can get them to help. So I'm hoping that the pendulum swings and that starts to become a normalcy, a normality with younger gentlemen. I would really like to see it, and I'm hoping that that's the new way of the world. Personally, anyway.
I
I'm
agree. I think
hoping.
we're going through like a lull right now where like
Yeah,
the two are combined, like the social anxiety and the finding yourself is linked together
it
because
is. Yeah,
they're trying not to be the B word, like you said. They're trying, they're hold on, they're opening up to their feelings, so they're being more sensitive. But then because of that, I think they're scared to go out to public. But then also, like we did it to ourselves. We made it so easy. Like now you go to and like half the fast food restaurants and you don't even have to talk to anybody. And that was half of our first jobs, right? Like we were all told
hmm
we had to
Hmm.
go work in customer service. That was our first jobs, always. It could be retail, it could be restaurant, whatever, but you had to go work in customer service to know how to talk to people. And I still remember for years after that, I had been working for probably 5 years, and I still was so scared to pick up that phone to answer it.
Oh,
Like, oh my gosh, what if I said this instead?
I
Now,
still struggle. Yeah.
now I'm like, blah, 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 like whatever. Like, even one time I sneezed when I picked up the phone and I just laughed about it and then like talked to the person. And it's like, you just get used to it, right? Like, you just eventually, if you do it enough, you just get used to it. And like, I think that was our family dynamic where we were kind of pushed into that. Like, we didn't have a say. This was how it had to be. And I think that that was great. And I want to do that same thing to my children. And I hope that they, you know, are good with it.
Hmm.
But I feel like a lot of families are not like that. And because people are so socially awkward, they just want to be like, all right, why do I have to do this? Like a lot of people thought COVID made that kind of stuff easier and it made it more convenient, right? Like we got food delivered, we got groceries delivered. We could even go to the grocery store, pick up our groceries for free and not have to speak to anybody. Like it was this whole fantastic thing that helped with anxiety so much, which is great. But at the
But
same
it
time,
feeds it.
it's like
yep. You don't confront it.
we're
Hmm.
not moving past it. And so it's
Yeah.
a very difficult situation because like, how are we supposed to, I don't know, we'll obviously figure it out. Like as a society, something's gonna give, right? Like we're gonna
Hmm
go through it.
Well, and they might go back to the, I'm trying to think if there's an example, but um, like trends come back, right? So like,
Right.
people are like, "Oh my gosh, like there was this video going around about I invented the coolest thing. You put pop on ice cream and it tastes so good," right? So it's like, okay, that's been around for a minute. But like, the new teenagers are
Oh,
like
we
so
just had
excited
root
they
beer
invented it.
floats tonight.
Right. So it's like, but like I always think about that too. It's like, say, we get used to these automated non-human interaction experiences or whatever, and then one day they open up a restaurant that is no computers and a waiter comes up and not a robot, and they take your order and they talk to you and they, and then you're like, whoa, like it was the coolest weirdest thing, like a person talked to me and they like wrote on this thing called a piece of paper, and like, and then it's just like, and it's like it becomes like this cool trend, and then it's like all of a sudden another one pops up, and then people are craving that because they're like, they want the human interaction because it's like been so taken away. I don't know how long that might happen, but that I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, maybe it will come back. One thing I wanted to add about the chat GPT, I heard of a story. The chat GPT freaks me out because like whatever you put into chat GPT is what you'll get out. So if you put in there and say you're a suicidal kid and you put in there, um, like, everyone thinks I'm the worst or blah, blah, blah. And like you say these things, like it will naturally agree with you. It would be like, okay, you are the worst and blah, blah, blah. And so there was actually a kid that committed suicide because he went to Chat GPT. And I don't know what he was tying in there, but it said, well, maybe you should kill yourself, or it said something along those lines. And so,
mm
like, hopefully, these kids that you're talking about, hopefully, if they do go to these sources, even if it's Google, they are going with a, hey Google, can you help me? Hey, who's the closest therapist, or who's, what's a number I can call? I'm scared right now. Or, hopefully they're putting the right things in there and they're not putting negative things, because like I use ChatGPT for work all the time, and it like makes me nervous every time I use it, but I'm like, okay, if I put into it what I want to get out of it, like I'm going to be kind and positive so that it's constantly speaking to me in that manner too. So hopefully nothing bad comes from it, but you're right, like the thought of if you're in a depression and you're in that state of giving up, trying to get the energy to like pick up the phone or get out of the house or physically go find someone and ask for help, especially when you're a man. And I gotta say that I feel like even if men, because like my son, and he's not a man, he's obviously a kid, but like I constantly, like feel your feels, let you like process it, like you gotta, don't shove it down. He still shoves it down. He's still like awesome. I'm like, baby, what's wrong? He's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. And he's 7. And I'm like, so I feel like men also naturally shove it down and they want to be strong. They want to be the protector. They want to be the rock. And women naturally want to feel our feels. We, little girls, we are more emotional, and boys are more, yeah, let's blow things up. Like it's just like in our DNA or whatever. So it's got to be hard. It's got to be hard to be.
I will say, like, that is one thing that I thought was such a positive that came from COVID is that I thought that the mental health was going to get taken care of, and unfortunately I feel like we just backslid again. I feel
Yeah,
like
got worse.
it was so relevant and it was so popular and it was so right there in your face, and everybody was like, "Oh, virtual therapy and blah 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 and this use this
Hmm.
app and all this." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is wonderful. Like
Oops.
so great." Um However, when I was going through a time period after I had my foster children, and I was searching for a therapist for a good solid 6 months, and we're talking like daily, maybe weekly, emails to this place, emails to this. I signed up for this. I signed up for this. I went through my church. I tried to find everything. I saw probably 2 therapists in that time period, and neither of them worked with me. Like, I just didn't get a good vibe from either of them. And then finally, like months later, I ended up finding another one. I went through a different thing. I went through my doctor. I went through like, and I was pushing hard. And the thing with me is that I was trying to go through my insurance, which should be available. But I was having a really hard time finding a good therapist through my insurance that was available and all this stuff. And also, like, one that wasn't available on like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. because I work,
Hmm.
and it was so hard and I wanted it so badly that I kept pushing. But imagine all those people who just gave up because it's exhausting and you don't want to have
Yes.
to search that hard, and it shouldn't be that hard. And it is very frustrating that it is. And I completely agree. And I hope that that changes because, and like also the thing is like, I wasn't so bad where I felt like I needed to call a company like yours, Devin. I was, I wasn't to the point of like suicide or like the dark thoughts, but like I just needed a little bit of help. It was almost like I was in postpartum again, like I just needed a little bit of help. I was crying every day. I was just sad. And so I didn't feel like I could call the other hotlines that would help me get through because it
Because
wasn't
you weren't bad
100%.
enough.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
was also like kind of a double-edged sword where like, well, I'm not quite there, but I'm not getting the help that I need anywhere else. So maybe I should have called to get some more assistance. But I remember I broke down and cried in a doctor's office. And they were like, "Oh, okay, so why are you here?" And I literally just started bawling. And I was like, I just want to go and talk to a therapist. Like, I just needed a referral to talk to a therapist. And they gave me this look, and I got scared for a minute that they were going to admit me
Oh.
to like the psych ward because I've heard people, like if you say that you're having suicidal thoughts or whatever, they submit you to the psych ward. And I obviously didn't say that I was having suicidal thoughts, but like I was sad. And like I just remember the look on their face was like, well, shit. It wasn't like oh, poor thing. Like, how can I help you? It was like well, now I got to deal with this. Well,
Hmm.
it just the whole situation sucked. And I feel that to my core. Like I thought that we were going to do so good and we didn't. So I do hope that like the AI is helping these kids, not in that negative way of the story that we heard, but in so many positive ones as somebody just to listen to what they're going through. And I'm also hoping that our generation of children, because we go through, we don't want to be like our parents' generations and all that kind of stuff because we're trying to do better, right? Like we're always trying to do better. And so I hope that we are being open to our children about these things. And I hope that when they raise their children, they're going to raise them in the same mindset of, you know, talk about it, it's okay, but don't let it consume you kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think with
Grant?
with ChatGPT too, it's going to be abused. It's not an if, it is going to be because we as humans have no choice but to abuse anything we do. No matter what it is. You know what I mean? We abused the internet very fast when that came around. There was like a couple days maybe where humans were like, "Oh, this is cool. This is informational, but how can I get it to blank?" You know what I mean? Because we can't we don't have the wherewithal not to because there's always that little voice of like, "Well, we could use it for this," you know.
I want more. I
Um
want more.
exactly. It's a consumerism mentality and like again, humans are complicated creatures, and that is just something that it's in our way. So, with that being said, though, I know of a few people who use ChatGPT as their therapist. So they say, you need to, like, be my therapist and relay this back to me. Is that as beneficial? No. But in a situation much like yours, Ashley, and I'm sorry that you were going through that, by the way. You can always call me, by the way.
Ditto,
And
hypocrite.
hey man, I know we're both probably ADHD, so we forget. But but I think in that situation, it can't hurt, if you don't have a resource, if you don't have a way to get to it, or if you're a child who has abusive parents and can't get to the resources that you need to, it's there. More than just a phone, too, more than a phone call. It could be like just texting. It's a lot more discreet. There's problems, but there's pros. And maybe it's my wishful, hopeful thinking. And that's probably what it is. I'm too half, glass half full kind of guy to not try to see the positives, but I understand the merit and the value in the negatives behind it too. But yeah, no, it's an interesting time. I wouldn't replace it with a therapist. I think, you know, the more I think about, especially with what I do now, a lot of humans end up in front of me because of the lack of human interaction, the lack of, um, or I say organic lifestyle. So like diet is really, really important. Um, Everything electronic, and then the lack of organic, use, I guess, of like verbalization. Oftentimes, those are like three really big things that get people to even high levels of schizophrenia. I met this guy who he lived in Oregon, and he had made some amount of money when he was younger, and he basically spent it all. But like during that time of spending it, he just lived with his brother. But they were so far out in the sticks that they didn't go anywhere. They didn't go into town. His brother would bring him food. So he just stayed out in that house. It's like a lot of people's dream. That's what we think, right? It's like, I just want to go live out in the middle of the forest
Yes.
and not talk
Screw
to anybody.
people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But and while I'm sure he had a very good organic lifestyle of being around woods, being in nature, I'm sure that was really great. The guy's brain broke. He went to the supermarket and he said that he had been living that way for like almost 20 years with just seeing his brother. And he went out to talk to others and he had an attack. He had such an anxiety attack that they think he gave him like a stroke almost because he
Wow.
didn't know, it was so overwhelming. And talking to the guy, brutal, man. The guy just he lost that sense of being able to keep up. And so I'm glad that there are things like my program that exists, our program. I shouldn't say mine, I didn't make it, but our program. And it's interesting to me because I feel like as much as we are a forward developing organization or community, society of technology, I really I implore people to try to stay as organic as possible for as long as we can. Because at some point there's going to be a shift. There's going to be a tilting point where it's like, humans, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but humans and technology eventually are going to become two in the same, whatever that looks like. To me, it's an idea, a concept that I've thought about. And like what that looks like can be a lot of different things. Like I'm wearing this watch right now. If you look at this technology 50 years from the road, down the road, do you think humans aren't going to try to get it implanted into their skin at some point?
Right.
We
Yeah.
already have peacemakers that are smaller than a grain of rice. That's a recorded peacemaker. That is so small, and that's something that actually is attached to your heart. And we're already trying to do these things more and more on a day-to-day basis that get us intertwined into the world of technology. And while I think that's cool, I talked to your brother Chandra about it, and he said, "Well, I just want bionic legs. Like I just want to be able to jump up on a roof, And I'm like, that's a really cool concept. But then you're also taking away the fact that with that you lose the lesson of going to grab a ladder and then climb the freaking roof, because it's
Mm-hmm.
not everything is supposed to be easy, because our grandma has a quote that I love: if you don't use it you lose it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when I get into this idea and concept of technology, it's intimidating, you know. Um, I think years down the road, really, like, what does 500 years from now look like? If somebody
Uh,
asked me that question, I would have to say that I wouldn't call it AI, but there's going to be a formation of potentially evolution at that point where humans are no longer humans. It is a metamorphosis between technology and humans that has become a organic, non-organic life force that can
right.
conceptualize perspective between one another. We are no longer individual beings. It's all the same consciousness. And again, sorry, big tangent, but this is just an idea that I've been toying with. It's pretty crazy to think the idea of where we could go. Somebody asked AI, like, what does human evolution look like? And it was exactly that. It was like the formation of watches, tablets, things like that started to morph into uh, organic realm, and then we became robots, quote unquote, as people would know. Um, and so it's just cool. It's cool. It's scary. We're not going to see it. We're going to see some crazy shit. Pardon my French. In our life, you know what I mean. But I don't know. We're not going to see that. It's cool to me. It's cool.
I agree. And I would like to, I also try to look more on the positive side of things. And I feel
Hmm.
like if that, like that to me is like the Black Panther, right? Like their world, how you can just like lay somebody on a table and then have the computer go in and be like, "Oh, this is what's wrong with them and we fixed it. Don't worry." Like it was just so like we gave them enough blood or whatever and now they are fine. And it's like that to me is awesome. But realistically, like that is a comic book, that's not reality, but it could be. And I just hope that it's that because that would be fantastic. And that they still like appreciated their earth so much and only took what they needed to, excuse me, and then let it thrive in other ways. So, anyways, that's what I hope. I just hope that our poor earth doesn't crumble because we're not nurturing it and we're just building all of these things. But then I see like in the town we all grew up in, Aurora or the city, they were doing they're doing like a save the bees and help the water thing where they're not putting grass in the medians in the roads anymore. They're just letting it be natural. And I love that. I love that they're doing that. I love that they changed that to be, natural Colorado. And I hope that we see that everywhere else. But then I also heard that in LA they were blaming pollution on the trees. So
What?
only knows where we're going there. I don't know. It's probably like the pollen. I don't know. I didn't research it. Somebody just told me. So my bad if my quote is off, but Lord help us.
Here's my thing on that, and you're totally right. The Earth isn't going anywhere. The Earth will survive. The question is whether or not humans will survive on the Earth. The
Fair
Earth is
point.
absolutely going to outlive humans. There's no way. There's even if we took off the whole top layer of it, it's
It'd be
still
like,
going
all
to
right, cool.
be.
Thanks for shedding my
It's like
skin.
yeah. The Earth will, unless we blow it up, it's going to be fine. So, like, yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried for the future envelopment and development of humankind more so than I am for the Earth. I want to respect the Earth because that's where we come from naturally. That's our birthplace. You know what I mean? It's like you have
Yeah.
to respect your birthplace appropriately, otherwise it disrespects you. And that's karma has a really weird way of flowing like that. So yeah, to your point, totally. But the Earth's not. It's gonna be fine. It'll be okay. A little plastic in the ocean, dude. It's gonna be fine. We're screwed, if anything. In the nicest way, of course.
But like you said, we won't see that. So I'm just not going to stress about it.
Yeah, exactly. But we can't be cognizant about it. We can still be
Oh,
better,
are you kidding me? I'm all about bamboo toilet paper and all the things. All the things.
Is it hard when you use it? Is it like the three seashells?
No, but I really want to know how they work. Okay, I still am curious about that. Her mother
Do you know
said that
what
there's like a bunch of theories on it, and I have to just go through one night and read them because I gotta know, dude.
yeah. Actually, I didn't show you, but oh, maybe I have. Maybe I've sent you a picture of this, but I was
Oh my
showing
gosh.
cousin Shaw. This is my hold on, let me see if you can if you can see it. Sorry, the blare. Oh my gosh, go away. It's hold on, sorry. Give me a second.
If you hold it closer, there you go. There
Can you
he
see it
is.
now?
Gosh,
And his
Isn't that
name.
cool?
who made that for you?
Younger sisters.
Uh-huh. Oh my gosh,
Hmm.
that's fantastic. They got the little
Yeah.
guitar and everything.
Yep.
Dude,
Isn't that awesome?
that
Yep.
is the best.
Duh.
Well,
Man,
I
we've
think
Oh
talked
that was
about
man.
like the
so
only musical thing we talked about this whole
I
episode.
was just
I
about to say
know.
we've talked about so much music. It's been amazing. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I was like
I
ready to ask you, like, all right, tell me about your whole musical career, like
well,
from when
yeah,
you were doing the mushing with grandma.
Yeah.
I
That was so cute. Oh my gosh.
I wanted to know the two questions I had for you music related were when did you first start getting into music and how many different instruments do you play?
Ooh, I
Um,
know the second one. That's a good question.
yeah, the good. So I was very young when I first started getting into music. I think even Kremling days or before then, I
We're
was.
talking like grade school?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
second
like third
grade.
grade, second grade. I
Yeah.
was singing like I know definitely by the
Silver and
time.
gold, silver.
Well, your dad is a musician too, though. So like it was literally in your blood. You were raised by it, like
Yeah. Yeah, but I think when I was singing
oh, and our
when
mom.
and our mom, yes, absolutely. Don't want to get daggers over there.
Oh,
Um
please. I am.
Nails. No, well, but I think it was like maybe first or second grade that I actually sang like in a public array, or maybe it was third grade. I was young, anywhere between 7 and 9. I have a vision in my mind, but that doesn't mean it's actually accurate. Um, but that's when it started, and like our grandma actually sent me some really cute photos the other day from fifth grade. We did Footloose, um, and I was like this lead dude in it, and I was wearing a Hawaiian flame shirt, like Guy
I
Fieri.
remember that one. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, was it blue?
It was blue and yellow or blue and white.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
I
yeah,
knew
yeah.
it.
Yeah. And so I was rocking that, and it was just it was cool to me. So I've always liked being on stage. When I was younger is because I liked to be the center of attention. And as I got
Yeah.
a little bit more mature, it was because I liked the idea of what I was putting on. So like
Okay.
whatever the concept is, I want to be able to get this concept out because I can buy into this concept. I want people to see it too, and I think, you know, I still like to be a little bit on the center of attention. But it was
Yeah, we all
also
know.
it was also to be able to do something, just do something. I was
Yeah.
always such an active kid that I felt like I had this like ball of energy inside me. I just wanted to do shit, because
Yeah.
it felt weird. Like my anxiety would get really big if I didn't go out and try to just do as much as I could. Um, and so, yeah, to answer your question on the first thing, that's how old I was. And then the amount of instruments I play, I mean, realistically, only three if you include singing. Um, Guitar and piano are like my two main, and then singing. But I do fiddle around with drums, ukulele. I've played violin a little bit of cello. Not
Cool.
great at either one of those, but I have played them. And I actually I'll show you. Hold on one second.
Show and tell everybody.
I know, I love this.
It looks worse than what I'm about to bring out, okay? But I'm just saying, um, it's called a saxoflute, and it
A
has like
saxoflute?
a saxoflute. So it has each one of the holes there, and then there's one on the back, and you kind of play it like a reed. There you go, in
So
all its
basically,
glory.
it sounds like a child yelling. If you didn't now, folks, do you believe us now that he's not Ed Sheeran?
The musical
That's
talent is
enough of that.
uncanny.
That's enough of that.
Okay,
Just
all right,
putting
but can we
that
have a
right
little
away.
guitar?
Those are all downstairs.
Bro, you
So
gotta show us something.
okay, all right, all right, all right. I have a tailor that uh my one of my best friends from middle school and high school. He is in Japan, learning Japanese as a school credit, and he was like,
Okay.
"Hey, man, I need you to hold on to my guitar for me." And I was like, "Fucking sweet." Pardon my French, but it's a Taylor, and for those that are nerds like me, a Taylor is like one of the most prestigious acoustic guitars, basically. Just
Can't
beautiful
wait.
tone. They're like $1,200 each, so he let me just borrow one, and I think it's cool.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Oh,
It's the same
Oh,
Taylor that
gorgeous.
so amazing. It's the same
oh.
Taylor that Ed Sheeran uses too. So yeah,
Shut up. All
What
right,
not
are
the
they're
the
same,
odds?
not
they're gonna
the
change their
one.
mind.
I'm just
Right,
saying
but
like
like,
the model.
Okay, well, technical difficulties were happening, but we're gonna go ahead and throw in a clip of Devin playing so you guys can actually hear him. Zoom was not allowing us to hear the music.
no, Zoom was doing its job too well in blocking the background music.
Background. Exactly, exactly. Okay, all right. Let's see. I had a couple more questions for you that are not music related, but I looked
Okay,
up questions and I really liked some of these. And I know
okay.
we're going on a little long, so we don't have to do all of them. But one of my favorite questions on here is how do you want to be remembered?
Hmm.
Loaded question. Jeez.
Hmm. I think I just want to be remembered by the energy in the room, you know.
Positive energy.
Positive
Yeah,
energy.
well, whatever, just the presence. When I'm there, that's the energy in the room, you know. I think that would be cool. Um,
I would remember the positive.
yeah.
And I
I
definitely
think
say you have that right now
I
when you walk
appreciate
in.
that.
Kevin!
Thank you. I think it would be cool to leave something behind like some kind of art form that is digestible in a setting that tells a story. So, you know, like when I was on stage, I liked that because that could leave an impact from somebody walking away from it. Um, so and like an album would be really cool.
Oh,
Something that like, you know, if I wasn't around, people could be like, well, this is like who he is without using any words, you know. I think that's a cool way to explain who somebody is. So that's a good question. Very good question.
I was like, I like that question. Let's
Hmm.
see. Hold on. I got to trim some of these down here. Okay. All right. What is something that you learned that surprised you that you learned about yourself?
That I can do it. Just the
Yeah.
idea of like I can actually do that thing that it seems so unachievable, you know, so impossible. Um, More and more, the more time I spend sober, the more I realize that that's an achievable goal. But just the idea of I can actually do that. It's not just this impossible thing. Humans set that forward, so you can do that as well. You know,
That,
I think that's what I would say.
well, and
I
I think
love
that's
that.
relatable to a lot of people. I mean, I like that made me
Hmm.
think. I'm like, oh wow, because there's so many
Yeah,
things that I've learned over the years that I'm like, whoa, I can comprehend a ballot.
yeah, yeah. It may take some time. I still
You
don't
know,
know how to comprehend a
I think
ballot, but you
I
know.
think I'm on year whatever. How old am I? I'm on year 8 and I'm still like, okay, if I just cancel out that double negative and that triple negative, I think I can understand what it's asking me. Okay, so I have two more questions and then we'll wrap it up, I promise. Okay, what
Hmm.
is one piece of advice that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Hmm.
You can do it.
Cut his freaking head off. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'll honestly just do the life motto. My life motto is an arrow, right? Because when life is dragging you back with difficulties, it's only meant to shoot you to a much further destination. So just keep aiming,
Okay,
and you'll get to your location. Yeah.
I love that.
Had that
Hmm.
motto for a very long time, and
I
I
have.
I truly love it, and I feel it's so
Yeah.
fitting.
Yeah.
I liked your
He knows,
visual too, cousin.
'cause I knew what he was gonna say.
Yeah. She knows. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay, last question, which is our favorite question. Can you share your top 3 books or movies that you recommend for the audience?
Um, Considering I've only read like 8 books in my life, um, no, I'm kidding. Probably like 9.
I was gonna say I'm
It,
like probably at 2, so.
you know what? Here, actually, one of my favorites is right in front of me.
I was
This is
gonna
called
say,
Whoa.
The Creative Act.
Okay.
It is a book by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin was the DJ for the Beastie Boys. Um,
Cool.
and he is I'll call him like a shaman or like he's a really good life coach and a guru. But in this, the creative act is it's a way of being where no matter what you're creating, whether it's music, art, a business, if you're trying to think outside of the box or try to build in a different way, the way that this book is broken down is it's not chronological. It's not a autobiography either. It's a way of principality in how you can approach a new subject and try to learn in a different way outside thinking. So one of my favorite quotes from that book is that um, you can never go to the same river twice because it is always running. So much like creativity, the same level of creativity is not going to be the same. So when you come back to try to make a song that you've already been working on, you have a different force that day
Yeah.
than you did the first. So, like the little things like that really stick with me, and it's a very cool book. And then another book is actually one that Ash gave me, and I'm drawing the blank on it right now. I think it's either called "You Are a Badass" or "The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck." Yes, "The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck." I really, really, that book really stuck with me, and it was just kind of if you've ever been in a rut and you just needed to get out fast, there are so many things in that book that just completely revamped my life, just flipped it around 100%. So it was very, very
That's
cool.
cool.
That's good
Yeah,
to
and
know. I
then
wanted to read that one. I don't think I ever heard how you liked it, so that's good to know.
oh, I've never told you that? Yeah, dude, it was
Yeah,
awesome. Thank you. It was so
good.
sick. I plan on reading it again, actually. It has a lot of really good value. So I highly recommend. And then I'll give two more. There is another book called "You Are a Badass," which is also a self-help book, but it's by Jen Sincero, and she is a wonderful human being. Talked about being in bands, traveling through India, getting lost in India for months just because she bought a Porsche when she was 17 because she wanted to do that, but by doing so, it taught her how to like get a higher level of money, like just a very like go out and get them type woman. And that book was really, really cool. And then for fiction, I just finished it, but it's Fairy Tale by Stephen King, and it's kind of like it's all of the it's like a take on all the Brothers Grimm's like fairy tales, but with Stephen King's version of it, and so it's all compact into one book, and so it's like an adult version of life like kid fairy tales, and it's very, very cool, very, very in detail, and I love it. So that's what I would recommend.
Love those. Those are
Hmm.
cool. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're very welcome. Thank you. Good question.
Well, before cousin gives us our quote, thanks for being on here. This was awesome. This was, money or not money, music and more.
Money, D money.
Definitely more.
Money.
I looked at the dollar signs. Yes, that's what we say, money, D money. But definitely
Yeah.
more the more than the music. But this was wonderful. So thank you for
Hmm.
joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I actually had a really great time. Thank you.
I agree. This was fun. Okay, so the quote that I have is "Where words fail, music speaks." And that was spoken by Hans Christian
Mm.
Andersen. And I just feel like it's fitting because we weren't really talking about music, but I feel like music is very relevant on your state of mind sometimes. So,
Okay, I do love that a lot. That's very, very true. Yeah,
yeah.
I like that.
yeah. I'll add one
Awesome.
thing because it's on that topic. What is really cool that musicians talk about often is that a lot of musicians they don't like each other as people, but when they play together, they understand who they are as a person, but they don't like their politics. They don't like talking to them. There have been musicians who have played in front of tens of thousands of people who hate each other, but because they play so well together and they love it, they can't get away from it. It's like an addiction. So I like that quote because that's exactly what it's like. Like me and my
Oh,
dad, we're really bad. Like we've gotten better about communication as we've gotten older. We check in all the time and whatnot. But I've gotten to know my dad more playing guitar with him than any conversation. You know what I mean? Because you just get to like you understand rhythm, you understand intensity, you understand the timing of like how everything flows. So I really like that quote. That's very, very cool.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But I'm
Well,
not gonna
Well,
thank you
talk about
again.
how cool it is because I say that every time. So, but it's just
Thank you guys. I really appreciate you. I thank you so much for having me on.
of
thank
course,
you,
thank
man.
you.
Hmm.
All right. Please remember to like, follow, and comment to connect with us. We are now on Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook pages. Just search Calling Cousins. Love you all. Bye.
Love you.
Bye.